All right, so welcome to our Facebook Live, and today we're going to be talking to you about the first steps to adrenal fatigue recovery. So let's first talk about what adrenal fatigue is, because a lot of people do not believe that it exists. A lot of doctors do not believe it exists. The medical schools do not believe it exists. Your friends, your family do not believe it exists. And it's really a difficult thing when you're suffering with a fatigue-based problem, not being able to focus, not being able to concentrate, not handling stressors very well, having crashes in the middle of the day, not having energy when you first wake up in the morning, not being able to fall asleep, getting more energy at the end of the day, not falling asleep, not staying asleep, not waking up with a lot of great energy, and then only to do it over and over again. Then you go see your doctor, their doctor tells you there's no such thing as adrenal fatigue, and then you start to go on this journey on your own. At least that's what I did, because when I was suffering with my own adrenal fatigue-based problem, after I had already finished a college degree in exercise physiology, after I had finished a college degree in psychology, after I had become a doctor of chiropractic, after my wife was pregnant with twins, after she was on bed rest, after I was in debt over $250,000 worth of student debt, I was exhausted and burnt out. And I had no idea what this adrenal fatigue thing was. And I was thinking to myself, if I don't know what it is, who else is out there that is suffering that doesn't know what this is? And who else needs help? So I went down that rabbit hole to learn about what adrenal fatigue is. And really, it's a bad definition. Let's just face it. So when you're exhausted and you're burnt out, yes, your adrenals are involved in that process, but what ultimately happens is, hey Jen, how you doing? Good to see you. Ultimately, what happens in that process of being under stress, your brain communicates with your stress response system, and ultimately what happens is there's a lot of feedback errors, there's a lot of bad quality hormones, there's a lot of not being able to regulate your circadian rhythm. And as we go deeper and deeper in learning what's going on in this stress-based response, we realize that we're biting off more than we can chew in terms of, at the cellular level, plain and simple, at the cellular level, your body is not making energy at the level that you need to. That's the bottom line, is your body is not making energy at the level that you need to. And what does that mean? Well, if I'm under stress, if I have an exposure to a chemical, a toxin, a pathogen, if I have nutritional deficiencies, if I have physical requirements, if I get exposed to chemicals or so forth and so on, my body needs to make energy. My body needs to be able to detoxify. My body needs to be able to repair, regenerate. My body needs to be able to digest, absorb, eliminate, create, break down. It's building up and breaking down. And if your body is not able to do that at the level it needs to, then you start to have fatigue. And ultimately, it impacts every aspect of the body. It impacts your neurological system, it impacts your endocrine system, your gastrointestinal system, your respiratory system, cardiovascular system. All of those systems are designed to work as an orchestra in order to be able to coordinate the stress response. And over time, when those stressors continue to go unrelenting, even when you don't even realize it, because I think as we discussed today in today's webinar, we're going to talk about what actually is stress. And a lot of people think, well, stress is like my family gives me stress, my job gives me stress, my relationships give me stress, my finances give me stress. And they do. They really do. But so does the the fluorescent lights that you're under every single day. It gives you stress. Or your Wi-Fi in your cell phone, that gives you stress. Or your quality of your foods and the lack of nutrients inside of those foods, that gives you stress. Or being out in California and having fires all over the place, that's going to give you stress. Now, not stress in terms of, oh, it's stressing me out, but it's going to demand a homeostatic challenge to your body, meaning your body is always taking cues as to what's going on. Like a plane, if a plane's turning left or turning right or going up or going down, there's a lot of mechanics that have to coordinate for that to happen. And ultimately, that has to happen in your body with all of those stressors. And when you don't have the optimal demand and supply ratio, just like at the 30,000 view foot, when you're earning a job, I always say if you earn a job or have a job in New York where or anywhere where the expenses are super high and your income is super low, you're struggling, right? I mean, maybe you're able to bring the rent just up to rent, but you're not going out for dinner. You're not buying new clothes. You're not going for social stuff. You're not maybe educating yourself. You're not able to do entertainment, and those take a priority. Those take a backseat to just being able to keep up. So if you were to ask me what is actually adrenal fatigue, it's a demand and supply problem. It is a lack of energy at the supply that your body needs and the demand that is requiring for it. And as a result, your body prioritizes and we create these weak links in the chain, and wherever those weak links in the chain break is going to manifest as the outward symptoms. So for someone, it could be brain fog. For someone else, it could be joint pains. For someone else, it can be GI disturbances. Someone else, it could be libido. And a lot of the times I was like, yeah, I have all of those. Well, you have a lot of demand and supply problems. And ultimately, it's been going on for quite some time, and you're not getting to necessarily the root cause of the problem. Your doctors aren't believing in this thing as being a legitimate thing, and you're being told that your blood tests are normal, and ultimately you continue to suffer more and more and more and more. So that's why I'm creating these pieces of educational ahas for you so that you can get some actionable steps to really improve your health. So the first step to adrenal fatigue recovery, that's what I wanted to talk to you guys about today, the first step to adrenal fatigue recovery. And we kind of went sidetracked and talked about what is adrenal fatigue, because how am I supposed to believe what you're telling me when there's no such thing as adrenal fatigue? I get so many people that will email me or respond to a post or give me a comment saying like, you're a quack, there's no such thing as adrenal fatigue. And that's frustrating because kind of you're right in the sense that when you look at the literature, the adrenals don't actually fatigue. They don't stop outputting cortisol. They do if you have an adrenal insufficiency or Addison's disease, but they don't necessarily completely conk out. In fact, the majority of the problems with the adrenal fatigue type thing and the demand and supply type thing is that a lot of the problems occur outside of the adrenals. The brain, the hypothalamus, the pituitary, the GI system, the liver, the cells that take in the hormone. The cells that take in the hormone have to be available to receive. And a lot of the times, if there's oxidative stress and free radical damage and genetic susceptibilities and environmental chemicals and heavy metals, those are going to block the ability of those receptors to be able to listen to the communication of the adrenals that aren't 100% fatigued. They're still not getting into the cell. And that's a huge problem. And I guess there's a really good book called, I think it's called, by David St. Clair, and it basically talks about the longevity factor. And he talks about aging is really the breakdown of communication. Aging is the breakdown of communication. And I would say adrenal health, homeostasis, the ability to regulate your stress response, HPA axis dysfunction is a breakdown of communication. It really is. So understanding actually what's going wrong is really the first step. Defining it in a way that you can communicate to your provider and you can communicate to your family and you can communicate to your body and open up communication, because even that's a failure to communicate. And whenever you have a failure to communicate at any level, at the cellular level, at the tissue level, at the 30,000 view feet level, at the country level, the continent level, you have a breakdown of communication, the whole system's going to start to break down. And that's really kind of what's happening. So what I want to tell you is it's really a mind shift awareness, understanding what's going on here. Also, I really think it's super important to have goals. And I teach that to a lot of the people that I coach, is that what's not working? Okay, I'm exhausted, I'm fatigued, I'm tired, I can't focus, I don't sleep, I have to take afternoon naps, my tummy hurts, I don't have motivation, I don't have any libido or sex drive, I can't lose weight, I can't gain weight, and life sucks, and I'm not doing well. Well, I get that, and I'm sorry to hear that. I really am. I know what it feels like because I've been there myself. And then only to be layered with there's no such thing as adrenal fatigue, and not being validated and not being told that there's something seriously going wrong with your body only makes it more frustrating and feeling hopeless. So I want to tell you that it's a mind shift, and it really requires you to look in the front view mirror, or not in the mirror, look out the dashboard and look at what's coming ahead, not what's behind you. And that shift alone can make huge changes. Because I ask people, okay, I understand those are all the things that you're feeling. If I had a magic wand and I could wave that magic wand, what exactly would you want? And a lot of people would say, well, I just don't want to feel this way anymore. And that's true. I get that. You don't want to feel this way. But okay, what would you do with that? What would you do with that energy? Think of it as if you had major expenses and now your expenses are being taken care of. What would you do with that extra disposable income? And a lot of people would say, I don't know. I've never had that extra disposable income. And I would say that's a problem, because your cortisol levels from your adrenals have been erratic for so long. High, low, not getting into the cell, not being signaled, not being broken down, not having good quality. Those are all problems that happen as a result of demand and supply. But the other thing that happens from a physiological standpoint is that front part of the brain, that frontal lobe gets jumbled. And that frontal lobe is when we have brain fog. Where did I leave my keys? Where's my wallet? Where did I park the car? Why did I go into the room? What was I going to say? Why do I know that so well? I know that so well because I've been there. I understand that. And I understand that cortisol hits that front part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, and a lot of the different parts in your brain that put a stamp on stress and make you more hardwired to have a stressor that causes that whole circuitry to fire. And now you have this predetermined stress response when it wasn't even that big, and you have focus and concentration issues, right? So goal planning and goal setting is going to be super key, because it's like doing curls for that part of the brain. You're starting to actually work that. So it's not that I say, okay, you got to be all woo-woo and sit on the top of the mountain and whistle lollipops and rainbows. It's not that I'm telling you that for that reason. I think, yes, you do got to do that, but it's because you're working that muscle. You're working that front part of that brain that's going to help you with understanding, okay, what do I want? How do I got to get there? And start putting life and energy and oxygen into that part of the brain. So it's really key as well. And coming up with a game plan. I mean, I think understanding what's great about today's day and age is, I say it's the best of the best and the worst of the worst. We can look at the environment. We can look at aluminum. We can look at glyphosate. We can look at Wi-Fi and EMS and mold and fuels and burning and exhaust and fumes and gases and solvents. And that's all terrible. It really is. And nutrients in the soils. But we also have amazing growth and evolution in our understanding of the human body. And we also know that the more things change, the more that they stay the same. We know that the easy, simple things in life are really what it's important. It's like meaningful relationships, not using your electronics, going for a walk. The things that are free in life are the most rewarding in life, and they're the most nourishing in life. That's what's been so terrible about this epidemic, is the fact that we are isolated and we are creatures of socialization and touch. There's so much energy and healing and healthy physiological changes that happen when we're bonding with other people. And so having a game plan is really, really, really important too. So as far as the first shift, the shift of stress is really understanding your life load. I call it your stress footprint. And what I'm going to do is I want to bring up a questionnaire that I have a lot of faith in. It's super important. So I want to talk to you about it. So it's called the Cohen Perceived Stress Scale. So I've said many times that the body doesn't know the difference between an actual stressor and a thought process. They're the same thing. So if I think I'm going to get in trouble when I broke the lamp from kicking the soccer ball inside the house, the stress that I have from that is the same physiological reaction than when I'm being yelled at. It's the same thing. So this Cohen perceived stress scale is a scale that is used in studies to quantify your stress response and how you think about stress. Because if you can change how you think about stress, you can define stress, and you can use the front part of the brain, and you can customize a recovery program that's based on your specific genetics and your environmental triggers, and then you could modify your stress response. Why are we not being told about this? Why am I being told to do a saliva test and take licorice root or take adaptogens or take phosphatidylserine so that I can lower, raise, or adapt my cortisol when we're not looking upstream? And everyone that I talk to wants to get to the root cause of the problem. And one of the root causes of the problems is, how do you think about stress? So one of the questions it asks is, in the past month, how often have you been upset because of something that happened unexpectedly? So a lot, you can say, yeah, I've been upset because of something that happened unexpectedly. Well, that is going to cause more of a stress response, supply and demand in your body. I'm going to put this questionnaire in my private group so that you will be able to download it and score it yourself, and then see, hey, I got to change my perception of stress. Like, yes, it happened unexpectedly, but did that make me upset? It did. How long did I stay upset for? I mean, those are things that, again, you can say, well, Dr. Joel, you're being all woo-woo and kumbaya and sis boom ba, all those things you're being. Yeah, but it ultimately, your body doesn't care. Your body just wants to feel good. And if you can control the mind, you can control the body. In the past month, how often have you been felt unable to control important things in your life? That's a big one. And perhaps you are going through things that are overwhelming. Your finances, your family's health, your socialization, what's going on with the world. That's all challenging to you, but unable to control. Why do you have to control it? You can control your response to it. You can reframe it. And that's really key. In the past month, how often have you felt nervous or stressed? So when you feel nervous or stressed, it's natural. But asking the question, why? And why am I perceiving it this way? Having techniques to be able to breathe and doing activity is all going to be supportive techniques to be able to move past that. In the past month, how often have you felt confident about your ability to handle personal problems? A lot of people I talk to say, I'm never confident to handle my personal problems. Okay, well, what can we do to fake it? What can we do to look through the front view, the dashboard, and not look back, and redefine how you talk to yourself and how you see yourself? I know it's kind of woo, and I'm going to do 5 weeks of training with you guys. This is the first week that I'm going to do with you, and it has to do with your perception of stress, defining what stress is, understanding your stress response, understanding how stress impacts you, and then customizing a recovery program around that. Because that's answering the question, I don't know where to start. Where do I start? I don't know if I should be doing a keto diet. I don't know if I should be eating paleo. I don't know if I should be going high carbs. I don't know if I should be gluten-free. Okay, like those are good questions, but how's your perception to stress? What are you aware of in terms of how stress is impacting you? And how do you realize what stress is so that now you know what you're dealing with? And that's really what we're teaching you. So I wanted to show you that questionnaire. The other questionnaire that we like is the stress inventory. And this is, okay, like this will give you perspective of how much stress you've experienced in your life, like death of a spouse, divorce, marital separation, death of a close family member, personal injury. There's a lot of different life events that happen here. And I find a lot of the times the elephant in the room is the elephant in the room. What do I mean by that? A lot of the times the elephant in the room is the fact that you've had a major loss, a major trauma, a major separation, a major income change, troubles with the boss. And those are things that people don't look at. And I get the people I work with to purge those, write them all down, and reframe how you think about them, or change them. change them. I mean, you don't deserve to have, now a lot of people say, well, I'm in a marriage that I can't just change, or I can't just change my finances, or I can't just change my boss, or I can't just change the fact that my mother died. No, you can't. You definitely can't. But being aware of them and understanding that it's kind of like the glove compartment in your car. You got a new car, you come out to the car, you can't start it, and you're wondering why. Like, I got a faulty car, I'm not putting enough gas in the car, maybe the transmission's gone. But no, it's those little things that keep eating away. And learning that it's there and addressing it is really, really key. So I wanted to talk to you about that. And now getting back to the presentation. Where is the rest of it? So talking about what is stress and measuring stress are really, really key. And then the old stress theory versus the new stress theory. So the other thing I want to talk to you about is Parietals Principle. So Parietals Principle has to do with the fact that you've heard it probably before, like 5% of whatever you do is responsible for 95% of the outcome. And I would say the same thing about stress, is that the majority of your stress is typically 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 different things that you're missing, like the job, like the relationship, like the income, like the career, like the children, like the family, but also like the mold exposure, like the heavy metal toxicity, like the gastrointestinal inflammation. Those are things that you need to start to customize. And then that way you can start to get the most bang for your buck, so to speak. If I know that one of my major traumas is X, Y, or Z, or one of my major challenges, my epigenetic challenges are A, B, and C, why am I not addressing them? And how am I going to answer the question, hey doc, what's the best supplement for me? I don't know. What's your A, B, and C? What's your X, Y, and Z? I need to know what those things are. So that's the Parietals Principle. And then lastly, well, this is not lastly, second lastly, physical, structural, mental, emotional, social, societal, environmental, those are all stressors. And those are common sense things, yeah, I get that. But those are things that are stressors that are impacting your body. So here's the game plan that I tell people to do. I want you to prioritize your stress. Understand what are the major factors. I want you to reframe and how you perceive your stress. Take those questionnaires, I'll put them up in the group. Make sure you ask me questions. In fact, this is alive. If you have any questions, ask me questions and I'll answer them as best I can. Understand what your stress inventory is. I tell people to have a mission statement. What's your goal in life? Like, what is it that you want to resonate and have frequency towards? Gratitude and celebration, that's a teaching tool. I won't get too much into that. The new theory of stress is the demand and supply, and understanding the environmental triggers with genetic susceptibilities that create perfect storms. That's the new model of stress, not the Hans Selye, the alarm, the resistance, the exhaustion. That's old school. That's not new school. And then learning the other 4 shifts. Those are going to be coming in succeeding weeks. And all of those combined are going to help you recover from burnout. So here's what I want you to do. I am looking for people that are serious in getting their health back. They said yes to everything that I was saying. Yes, I understand. I am not moving the needle. The doctors are not helping me. They think I'm crazy. I've tried so many things and nothing's working. And I'm still searching for that solution. I'm coachable, I'm resourceful, I'm decisive. I know I got to get my health back because I have so much to live for. And there's so much more on my to-do list. And I deserve to be healthy. And I'm going to do everything I can to be healthy. And if that's you, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to post a link to a no charge, no obligation, to continue 45-minute consultation with me. But you have to be those 3 things. You have to be coachable, meaning you want to learn. You're not just going to pick and choose what we suggest. You're not just going to spoon-fed it and not ask questions. You want to help me help you and play full out. You know that you need to get this fixed. That's decisive. You knew that yesterday. You knew that a week ago. You knew that a month ago. You maybe even knew that 5 years ago or longer. And you also know that you're resourceful. I'm not wherever you are. You're not wherever I am. We need to do the things that are going to require you to get better. That requires investing in your health, in the tests, in the recovery process, because you know ultimately what you get out of it is so much more and can't put a dollar value in what you get into it. Those are what I'm looking for. I'm going to post the link, and what we do on these calls is we figure out, where are you now? What have you done? What's worked? What hasn't worked? Where do you want to go? And then from there, figure out by step, exact game plan. Okay, Mary, this is what you need to do. You need to do X, Y, and Z. You have A, B, and C, and it's going to require you to do C, D, and E. Those are the things that you're going to need to do. And whether you start with me or not is not important. Obviously, that's what we do. We help people. But you're going to get the call. You're going to get value. You're going to know what you need to do next. And you're going to take that first step to getting your health back. So I'm going to put that link in the after this is posted. And look forward to next week, where we'll do lesson 2 on the 5 things that we look at to help recover your body. And most importantly, I look forward to ending your adrenal fatigue nightmare. Have a nice day.